You did everything right. You got the degree, maybe even two. You climbed the corporate ladder. You delivered. You showed up early. You stayed late and said yes when it mattered. You built a reputation that precedes you in rooms. You have the title, you have the salary, you have the house, the relationship, and the LinkedIn profile that people screenshot as inspiration. And yet still something feels off. Not wrong exactly, not like something's broken, not ungrateful, just off. Like you're living a life that you really worked very hard for, but it's like too tight jeans. It just doesn't fit anymore. And something feels wrong, even though you know this is your size. You buy the same pair of jeans every single time, but they're just not fitting like they used to. And slowly but surely, you're realizing that you've outgrown this life that you worked so hard for. It could feel like a identity crisis, but it's not. It's expansion. And that's exactly what we'll talk about today. Welcome back to the Confident and Courageous Clarity Podcast with me, Jateya Jones. And I'm so glad you're here. Today, I'm starting something that I've been working on for quite some time. It's a 4-part series I'm calling the Expansion Season. The premise is simple. What happens when this life that we've worked so hard for no longer works for the person that we've become? That's the question underlying every conversation that I've been having recently. Whether it's in the Clarity Lab, in a strategy session, a VIP one-on-one day, in my DMs, or even in the mirror. And it's time for that we name it out loud. We call a thing a thing. So here's how the series is going to go. So episode 1, that's here today. And we're talking about the receipts. You have them and why that's not the same as actually knowing what you're going to build. So many people that I've worked with or call me for a discovery call, they're like, I just want to do this thing that I do for my job on my own and make money for it. Yes, you have those receipts, but why building that thing is not equivalent and why it hasn't worked for some people. Episode 2 is about the pattern that's hiding in plain sight. Every job, every role has been trying to tell you the same thing. And so in episode 2, we're going to talk about that common thread, the thread that connects the dots between your passion, your purpose, your profession, profit. Stay tuned. Episode 3 is about the vision that you've been compressing, restricting, shrinking. The difference between the one you actually tell people about and the one that you silently carry real tight and close knit to your heart. We're going to name both of them. And episode 4 is the diagnosis, because the reason you're not moving or you feel stuck is not what you think. 4 episodes, one complete story. So let's get into it. Let me paint a picture for you. You're accomplished, and I don't mean that casually. I mean, you have the track record that other people look to for inspiration. They're the ones that they actually quote when they're trying to motivate themselves. You've done the hard things. You figured out the hard things. You're the one that people have grown to count on. And somewhere in that accumulation of accomplishments, you started to feel something you didn't have the language for. It's not that you're unhappy. It's not that you're ungrateful. It's not even burnout, because you're not exhausted from doing too much. You know what that feels like. You're tired in a different way. You're tired of doing the right things for the wrong reasons. I call those the shoulds, because you should climb the corporate ladder. You should have the white picket fence. It's not because you really want to, but because you think you should. So like I said, all the right things for all the wrong reasons. You're just tired of optimizing a life and tired of the receipts not adding up to what you actually want. I call this the achievement paradox. That's when you reach like an achievement level that you truly were aiming for and realize that it was someone else's map. Not because you were forced, not because you were manipulated, but because you were brilliant and capable and executed. You normally met, but mostly exceeded the expectations that were placed in front of you. You did it so well that by the time you actually looked up, you were somewhere that you had actually earned, but you never really chose. There's a name for the path that got you there: the should path. The should path is a sequence of decisions that made sense at the time. Take the job that pays well, stay because the benefits are good, pursue the promotion because that's what advancement looks like. That's what climbing the corporate ladder looks like. That's what is supposed to happen. You just deal with it. And then when you decide to work on your side hobby or what you're calling a business, you build the business model closest to what you already know. You say yes to the opportunities because it's the smartest move. not because it feels connected to who you actually are and what you actually want. None of those decisions were wrong. They were just made by a version of you that have less information than what you actually do now. And the should path was built for who you used to be, not who you've become. And here's the thing about the should path. It's not horrible. In fact, it works exactly as designed. The problem is that the success with the should path actually hides that you've evolved. And that's exactly why so many accomplished people feel guilty when they actually want something more, something different. They feel like wanting more means you don't appreciate what you already have. But honestly, it just means that you've outgrown your current circumstances, job, situation. So now you're standing in a life full of receipts, the degrees, the titles, certifications, testimonials, savings account, the side business, all the accolades, all the years of experience that you couldn't have even bought if you tried. And still, you can't fully answer the question, what am I actually building? You know what you want, you just won't say it. Not where you're managing and not what you're showing up for. Because a lot of times we show up even when we really don't want to. I know this because I've lived it. On paper, I had exactly what I wanted. I did exactly what I said I wanted to do. Public health, federal jobs, government agencies, nonprofits, entrepreneurship. And yet there was a season where I found myself asking a question that felt almost disrespectful after everything that I had actually accomplished. Is this it? I know there has to be more. Not because my life was bad, not because I was ungrateful, because honestly, I knew there were people dying for my position at my 9 to 5. But I knew I was called to more. I knew the vision was greater, expansive, global, but I didn't have the language for it. And honestly, I was afraid to say it out loud for how people would look at me. I had worked so hard to do all the things and get so far that what if I actually did the thing and it didn't work? What if I left this job that people vied for and it didn't work? So I held on even more tightly to something that honestly I didn't want anymore. And I had outgrown years and years ago. I kept achieving. I kept striving for more. I kept trying to be the best. I kept getting the certificates and the trainings. And honestly, it was escapism. It was running away from the actual thing. And the question of, is this it? I know there's more was the answer that I kept saying. It definitely wasn't a lack of gratitude. It was the signal that my body was trying to tell me that we've outgrown this. This container is not big enough for what you were called to do and be and build. And here's the thing, there's a huge difference by building by default and what you're actually called to build. Because honestly, I didn't ask myself the question in the beginning, what are we building? I was very much so reactive than proactive. Yeah, I had a vision, an idea that God had whispered in my ear one night while sleeping. And I woke up very clear of what this thing looked like, but I never really asked the question, what am I building? Meaning, what's the impact? What's the outcome or the desired outcome at the end of actually doing or building the thing? And so until I actually slowed down enough to realize that, the question kept rising and rising. And the nudge would not leave me alone. It would not let me go. And I found myself bouncing from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. Because yeah, I'm a multi-passionate, multi-hyphenate, whatever you want to call it, Renaissance woman. I am love a bunch of different things. I'm interested in a bunch of different things. I actually love to learn. So I was able to be distracted by this shiny object syndrome because I would not answer the question, what am I actually building? It was far, far from the vision that I had in the dream because, ooh, I can make money doing this, or ooh, this opportunity came to me, or someone saw something in me and it pulled me more and more towards helping them build their thing and far, far away from me building my thing. And so I found myself building by default and definitely not by design. And most extremely accomplished professionals that I find myself working with have been building by default way longer than they care to admit, or maybe not even realize. And not because they're not smart enough to intentionally build a thing, but because designing requires you to actually state what you actually want. Now what sounds good on paper, now would be not the thing that would be respected by your colleagues or your family and friends, but the thing you actually really want. The thing that might sound absolutely insane to everyone else, that thing. And naming what you actually want when you spent majority of your life being the responsible one, strategic one, the practical one, saying it out loud sounds absolutely dangerous to most of them. Even did to me. But I got to the point where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of myself. And it wouldn't leave me alone. And so once I said it out loud, though, everything changed. And the first thing that really changed for me is saying it out loud made me look in the mirror and see how far away I really was from it. Even though in my mind, I had been working towards it and working towards it and putting in the sweat equity. And honestly, there was a whisper in the back of my mind that said if I said it out loud, others would think that I was ungrateful for what I had because a lot of people saw the levels in which I reached impossible until I did it. I had been told once that I had no fear because I did the things. And that was the furthest thing from the truth. I may have been a little delulu, but a lot of times it was because I could see the vision clearly. So as long as I could see it, I could do it. And there was some shame in not doing the societal playbook or the thing that everyone respected or that they veered after. Like, why would you let go of this great government job or the six-figure salary to pursue a passion project? That's what people did after retirement. And honestly, I didn't want to wait till retirement to really truly live or feel like I was living a purposeful life. So let me give you a slight reframe. What you're feeling is not a problem with your actual life. It's information about your growth. When a container gets too small for what it's designed to hold, that doesn't mean that there's a problem with what's inside of it. It's a sign that the container needs to expand. Kind of like when your flower tends to get a stunted growth and you got to repot it. Or a little known fact, or maybe it's not. But something that I recently learned is that if you keep a snake in a fish tank that is too small, it'll grow to the length of the tank, but it literally could be 10 times that size if it had an environment that was big enough for it to actually grow to that size. But instead, it only stays so small because that is the environment that it's been given to grow and thrive in. So over these years, it's been quiet expansion, something that you may not have truly been able to see in the moment, but you've gained clarity over these years. You've built more capacity for different things, people, places. You sharpen your values, and your vision has gotten bigger and clearer and more refined, and more importantly, more of yours, not someone else's, not the one that was planted in your head when you were 2 and 3. That is not really a problem. It's truly evidence of growth. The friction that you're feeling is identity friction. We go through several midlife crises or identity crises over our lifetime more than we can count because traditionally we're told that you have like this one midlife crisis. But identity crisis comes along with the loss of so many different things, whether it's your hair because you had chemo treatment. And yeah, people say it's just hair, but that's part of our identity. Or the loss of friendships and you're grieving these things. That is followed with identity crisis, whether it's divorce or the list goes on and on. But you come out on the other side of that a new person. One of the examples that I like to give is global disruption, and that's COVID. So many of us came out on the other side prioritizing self and family over the job. And some people looked at us like we had two heads, mostly our parents. But it was because you had a mindset shift. You had a shift in identity, a shift in reality, and things that were important. Either where you realized they weren't as important as they once were, and the things that you neglected, you realized were mostly the important things. This identity friction shows up when it's in direct contact with all of the structures you've built around you of who you used to be. It shows up relentlessly in a role that used to excite you. I had a job that I once thought was my dream job, and I quickly found out it was a nightmare. It shows up in the resistance to goals that you set for yourself, but they now feel like obligations. And it truly shows up in what seems to be this sense that you're performing a life instead of truly living it. So here's what most people do when they feel this. They try to fix their productivity. They download a new app. They get a new workout plan. They redesign their morning routine. They go get a new planner. They find a coach to help them execute even harder against these old goals that they set. Or you take a vacation hoping that it will reset your old life and make it feel new again, or at least appreciate what it used to feel like. And absolutely none of it works because productivity does not fix identity friction. Vacations do not fix identity friction, only clarity. And specifically, three types of clarity. These are the three types that I work with the most because they provide a holistic approach to maintaining and keeping what you're building yours. So number one is directional clarity, knowing exactly where you're going, not where you're supposed to be going. The main example that I always give or analogy is like you're going to the grocery store because you want to make this recipe. You can go to the Whole Foods, you can go to Trader Joe's, you can go to Kroger, Safeway. Which grocery store really has exactly what you're looking for at the best value for what you're willing to pay? Because yes, you can go to the Kroger, but it may not have that particular brand of honey Dijon mustard that was hand ground and marinated in additional spices from the other side of the world. And if they do, you're going to pay 3 times for it because you really didn't know where you were going. You just knew you needed to go to the grocery store to get to the mustard. And motivational clarity. And that's just understanding why knowing where you're going really matters and why it matters to you in this stage of life and not the stage in your last chapter where you actually set the goal. And lastly is operational clarity. And that's building the structure that actually gets things moving and keeps them moving without you wanting to burn it all down. Because part of what you're bringing into this next chapter is what has prepared you to be able to go into the next chapter. I know I always used to say, especially when it came to like my website, it has such great language. And I definitely was that person. But I felt like if I just knocked the whole house down and rebuilt it, it would be a whole lot easier. But the website itself actually had good bones. It had good copy. So I just really needed to take the time to go through and see what was coming with me to the next and what I could let go of. And it was hard because I was holding on for dear life to a lot of it. And that was no longer who I am or who I was. And or who I wanted to be, or who I wanted to talk to, and who I wanted to serve. But I had put so much effort and time in that brand. And letting go of being known as the clarity coach was hard. And I had to grieve it. But the structures that I had for that was not, it was keeping me stuck. It was not helping me move into my next and helping me maintain that movement because I would inch forward. What's the song? 2 steps forward, 10 steps back, basically. So those are the three things. You have the directional, motivational, and operational clarity. There are others. We'll discuss those at a different date and time. But these are the three initial ones that we really have to take a close look at to make sure that we're making it our own. Because that rubber band method, where you stretch it and it just wants to automatically pop back to the old version, will keep us stuck in the old version. And it's time to move forward because you know who you're really meant to be, who you're designed to be, how great you can be, and the world needs you to become that person. They're waiting on you, I promise. And here's a secret. Most people are trying to get to the operational clarity without doing the first two. And that is why they keep finding themselves starting over year after year, if not years down the line. And that is what I don't want to happen to you. They say the graveyard is the biggest place of dreams. This is not a dream deferred. This is meant for here on earth. So I want to leave you with this one question before we close out the episode. Not a homework assignment, not an exercise, because I know that's what you guys are used to, but just a question that I really want you to sit with between now and when you come back for the next episode. The question is this: if everything you've built so far was preparation and not the prize, what would you build? What would be your next? If money wasn't an option and you knew all the things you've gone through, all the things you've learned, all the things you've experienced, all the certificates, all the testimonials, all the certifications, if nobody would think that you're absolutely insane when you said it out loud, what would be your next chapter? What would be the thing? What would be the impact that you want to provide and share with and have on the world? What if everything you've lived through and everything you have become up until this point wasn't the finish line? What if it was everything that you needed to put the pieces of the puzzle together for the next, for that vision that you keep holding so closely knit to and won't say out loud? Here's the thing: your receipts are not the destination, they're the foundation. And in the next episode, we're going to take a hard look at them and the pattern that they've shown over the time. You may not have noticed it, but I promise you it's there, and it's been there the whole time. I call it the common thread. And once you know it, it's a game changer. So thanks for being here for the first episode in this series. I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. So if this landed for you, I want you to do 3 things for me. First, subscribe or follow to make sure that the next episode comes directly to you and you're notified and you won't miss it. Second, share this with someone that you know needs it, who's been really carrying that quiet feeling for a really long time and plastering on a smile and saying, I'm fine. That friend. You probably already know who they are. And thirdly, if you're ready to start building and stop waiting for retirement for your passion project, there's 2 options I want to share with you. There's the Clarity Lab, where we work together, we think together. Look at it as like your own personal board of representatives for your business without having to ask the people that you think are too busy to be on your board to be. It's like a built-in board. We need outside wisdom and knowledge, support, guidance, mentorship, and connection. Let them talk about you in the room that you didn't even know you wanted or needed to be in. The link is in the show notes. And if you're ready truly to like get to the nitty gritty, there's the Plan to Win intensive, which normally I make you do before you come into the Clarity Lab. So you're clear on your plan to win, and your board of directors are there to support you, challenge you, push you, and get you to the actual vision sooner, quicker, faster, in the words of my snickerdoodle, than you ever thought imagined. Please know our God is a God of suddenly. It literally can happen tomorrow. This is a quick side note, sidebar. I literally was looking at something in one of the ads, and it was like a convertible desk. It converted into something larger. And I was like, oh, that's really cute and nice. And immediately it hit me. But God is a God of greatness. So why are you preparing for small when it could be really big that he's getting ready to bless you with? And so I say that because so many of us are okay with breadcrumbing and putting it together bit by bit. But what if he blesses you with the people before you're prepared to serve them? Because you wanted to go bit by bit. The Plan to Win intensive, we get in there, we pull everything out of your head, and we create a plan despite lifing that you can continue and maintain with. And then your board of directors in the Clarity Lab help you navigate this world of entrepreneurship, so you really aren't like a solopreneur. You're not doing it by yourself, or at least it doesn't feel like you're doing it by yourself, because you have others truly there to give you the guidance, support, and direction that you need. Last but not least, starting today when this episode comes out, is the quarterly planning sessions. And so that is a space where we get together quarterly. It comes along with the Clarity Lab. Those members are already, they just come on in because it's part of their membership. But I do let others come on in so they can get a taste of what it really could feel like, look like, and the weight that can be lifted when you have those three types of clarity. All this will also be in the show notes. And if you have a question, I'm a real person. I do respond to DMs, comments, emails. Hit me up. Let me know. I'm here to provide clarity. That is what I do. That is my heart's desire. So that's it. That's all for this week. I'll see you back here for the second part in this series. Have a marvelous, marvelous, marvelous week. Until next time. Bye, guys.